When I was 14, I learned that some sentences can slice deeper than any blade. And the one my stepmom threw at me that day, "You're not really part of this family," was the kind of line that doesn't just sting in the moment. It settles inside you, grows roots, and shows up years later in ways you don't expect. I didn't know then that those words would follow me for the next 20 years, shaping the way I walked, talked, loved, trusted, and even the way I kept my distance. I didn't know that one day, long after I had built a life far away from her voice and her coldness, she would call me out of nowhere. And I especially didn't know that the reason behind her call would shake me as hard as those words did when I was a kid. Back then, the house looked warm from the outside, yellow lights, a clean porch, and a door that always smelled like my dad's cologne. But the warmth didn't reach everyone living inside it. My stepmom, Angela, had a smile that looked perfect in pictures but never landed on me in real life. She was polite enough when my dad was in the room, careful with her tone, gentle with her movements. But the moment he stepped out, the temperature changed. It wasn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it was just the way she looked at me like she wished I wasn't there. Sometimes it was the way she spoke to me like every word she wasted on me took something from her. My dad had remarried 2 years after my mom passed away, and even though I never said it out loud, a big part of me hoped Angela would be someone who saw me as more than a reminder of my mom. I hoped she'd be someone who'd help me feel like a normal kid again, someone who would at least try to build something with me. For a while, I held on to that hope. I really did. But the older I got, the clearer it became that she didn't want that. She wanted my dad. She wanted the house, the marriage, the picture-perfect life. And in her eyes, I was the extra piece that didn't fit the puzzle she was building. The day she told me I wasn't part of the family started like any other. I had just come home from school, still wearing the same backpack that used to be my mom's last birthday gift to me. I walked into the kitchen hoping for leftovers or maybe even a smile. Instead, I found Angela rearranging dishes in the cabinet, something she did when she was angry, bored, or stressed. It was hard to tell the difference with her. She glanced at me the way someone glances at a stranger standing too close in a line. Then she asked me why I hadn't taken the trash out the night before. I told her I forgot because I had a big science test the next morning and spent half the night studying. I wasn't making excuses, I really had been trying my best. But she sighed, sharp and impatient, as if my answer made everything worse. "You always have some excuse," she said quietly but not softly. "Always a reason you can't do the simplest things. Honestly, sometimes I wonder why you think you're so special." I didn't know what to say. I was 14. 14-year-olds feel deeply but don't always know how to respond. So I just stood there staring at her. Maybe that annoyed her. Maybe it made her feel like she wasn't getting through to me. Because that's when she put the plate down, turned to face me fully, and said the sentence that would echo in my mind for years. "You're not really part of this family, you know? Not the way you think you are. So don't act like everything here revolves around you." And just like that, she walked away, leaving me in the kitchen with a plate still rocking slightly from where she dropped it onto the counter. I didn't cry right then. Not until later when I was alone in my room pretending to do homework. I didn't tell my dad either. Partly because I didn't want to make things worse and partly because some small part of me didn't want to hear him try to defend her. I didn't want to risk him believing she was right. So I swallowed it. And for years I kept swallowing moments like that. Small ones, cutting ones, quiet ones, all building into something heavy. Time passed. I grew up. I moved out the moment I turned 18. Built my own life, made my own choices, healed at my own pace. I stopped visiting except on holidays, and even then I stayed just long enough to be polite. Angela and I kept a distance so wide that even pretending became exhausting. But life has a way of circling back when you least expect it. 20 years later, 20 years after that sentence carved itself into my memory, I was sitting in my apartment sorting through emails when my phone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in ages. I almost didn't answer. I almost let it ring out and fade into silence like so many other things connected to my childhood. But something, curiosity, instinct, maybe even caution, made me pick it up. "Hello," I said. There was a long pause, a shaky inhale, and then a voice I recognized even after all that time. "Hi, it's Angela." Just hearing her name sent a strange rush through me. Confusion, irritation, shock, everything tangled at once. I hadn't heard her voice in years and I wasn't prepared for the sound of it, older, softer, but still carrying the same edge I remembered. I need to talk to you," she said slowly, almost carefully. "It's important. It's about your father. And it's about something I should have told you a long time ago." My hand tightened around the phone. Something inside me shifted, the same heaviness from my teenage years mixing with something new, something uneasy. "What do you mean?" I asked. Another pause. Another breath. And then, just as she started to answer, her voice cracked. Not from anger this time, but from something else entirely. I didn't tell you the truth back then, she said. About you. About the family. About everything. Before I could ask anything else, she said she needed to meet in person. She insisted. Begged almost. And though every part of me wanted to say no, something in her tone felt different. Urgent. Heavy. Like she was carrying something she couldn't hold anymore. I didn't know what she was hiding. I didn't know why she had chosen now, after decades of silence. I didn't know what she meant by the truth. But what I did know, deep in my gut, was that whatever she had to say was going to change everything I thought I understood about my childhood, and about myself. And as I stood there holding the phone, heart unsteady, one question echoed louder than the rest. What could she possibly reveal after 20 years of distance that she couldn't tell me back when I was 14? I didn't sleep much the night Angela called. I kept replaying her voice in my head, trying to figure out what could be so important after all these years. I wasn't used to hearing fear in her tone. Growing up, she carried herself like someone who always had the upper hand, someone who expected respect without giving any back. But the voice I heard on the phone didn't sound powerful. It sounded tired, maybe even scared. And that alone made the mystery even heavier. I paced around my apartment, thinking about everything she had ever said, or refused to say, when I was younger. The way she looked at me sometimes like I was a problem she wished she could erase. The way she used to push me away from my dad, always trying to control how long we talked, what we talked about, and where we spent time. At the time I thought it was because she didn't like me. Now, for the first time, I wondered if there was something deeper behind all those small, strange moments. I tried to focus on anything else, but the feeling wouldn't settle. There was something in the air, something I couldn't name yet. Something that made me feel like I was standing at the edge of a truth I wasn't prepared for. I finally sat down and stared at the old box I kept tucked away in the back of my closet. It held the few things I'd kept from my childhood. My mom's scarf, some old photos, a bracelet my dad gave me, and a couple of school drawings. I hadn't opened the box in years, but now I felt pulled toward it, like maybe the past held clues I'd missed before. When I lifted the lid, a thin layer of dust floated into the air. I picked up my mom's scarf first, running my fingers over the soft fabric. I remembered how she used to wrap it around herself on cold mornings, her hair always tucked inside it. The memory hit me with a mix of warmth and ache. Then I looked at an old picture of my dad holding me when I was maybe 6 or 7. His arms were strong, his smile wide, the sunlight behind us making everything look soft. I remembered that version of him, the dad who used to lift me onto his shoulders, who used to read me stories, who promised he'd always be there. But after he married Angela, something changed. He wasn't cruel or distant, just distracted. Like he was always trying to balance two worlds that didn't fit together. And maybe he didn't realize how much that left me standing alone. I searched through more photos until I found one where Angela was standing in the corner of a family gathering, her smile perfect but her eyes somewhere else. Back then I thought she just didn't like parties. Now I couldn't help but wonder, was she hiding something all that time? The more I thought about the past, the more questions filled my mind. Why did she say I wasn't part of the family? Why did she spend so many years keeping me at arm's length? Why now, after 20 whole years, did she say there was something she should have told me? None of it made sense. The next morning my phone buzzed again. I almost didn't want to look at it, but curiosity pulled me in. It was a text from Angela. Please come see me. I can't say this over the phone. It's important. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Another part of me felt like I needed to hear whatever she had been holding back. But before I could even think about replying, I got a call from my Aunt Rose, my mom's sister. I hadn't talked to her in months, but she had always been the one person who treated me the same before and after my mom died. Her voice carried a soft kindness I didn't realize I needed until I heard it. "Sweetheart," she said, "I heard from someone that Angela reached out to you." That stopped me cold. How did she know? "Yeah," I said slowly. "She called me last night." "Why?" Aunt Rose took a breath, the kind people take when they're trying to protect you from something but aren't sure how. "I think you should be careful," she said. "Your stepmom, she wasn't always honest with your father. Or with the rest of us." "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart tightening. "It's not my place to tell you," she said softly. "But there are things I suspected back then. Things I never could prove. And if she finally wants to talk, it must be serious." I pressed her, but she didn't say anything more. She didn't sound angry, just worried. And that only added to the confusion building inside me. After we hung up, I sat there staring at the wall, trying to piece everything together. It felt like everyone knew something except me. The more I thought about it, the more it felt like there was a missing piece in my story, something hidden, something no one had dared to explain. Growing up, I always sensed secrets in the house, whispers that stopped when I walked into a room, conversations that ended too quickly. I used to think it was just adults being adults. Now I wasn't so sure. Later that day, I drove past the old neighborhood. Not to see Angela, not yet. Just to see the house I had grown up in. It looked almost the same from the outside. White siding, blue shutters, flowers by the walkway. A family lived there now, their car parked in the driveway. Seeing it occupied by strangers felt strange, like the place had moved on long before I ever did. I sat in the car for a few minutes, memories flashing in pieces. My dad teaching me how to ride a bike on the sidewalk, my mom laughing as she watched, Angela standing in the doorway years later, arms crossed, watching me with that unreadable expression. The house held so many ghosts it was hard to tell which memories were real and which ones I'd created to fill in the quiet spaces. As I drove away, something inside me clicked. Maybe this wasn't just about Angela being cruel when I was a kid. Maybe it wasn't just about jealousy or coldness. Maybe it was about something bigger, something she had been hiding long before she met my dad. Something that might involve my mother, or me, or both. By the time I got home, the weight of the mystery felt heavier than ever. I tried to distract myself with work, food, anything, but the questions kept circling. Why now? Why after all this time? What truth could she possibly reveal that she didn't when she had the chance years ago? I looked at my phone again. Her text was still there, waiting for an answer. But I wasn't ready to meet her. Not yet. I needed to understand more before I walked into whatever she had to say. Before the night ended, I received one more message. But this time, it wasn't from Angela. It was from someone I hadn't heard from in even longer. Someone whose name froze me in place the moment I saw it. It was from my dad. Only 2 words. We need to talk. And suddenly, the mystery wasn't just something from the past anymore. It was happening right now, pulling me deeper whether I was ready or not. My dad's message stayed on my screen for a long time. I kept reading those 4 words, we need to talk, until they didn't even look like words anymore. My dad wasn't someone who reached out for no reason. He especially wasn't someone who got emotional or dramatic. If anything, he avoided heavy conversations. So for him to text me out of nowhere, on the same day Angela insisted on meeting, that was too strange to ignore. I typed a reply 3 times and deleted it every time. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to call him immediately, but another part of me felt too raw. My relationship with him had never fully healed after my childhood. We loved each other, but there was always an invisible wall between us, thin enough to see through, thick enough that neither of us ever broke it down. And now, after all these years, he suddenly wanted to talk? I left the message unanswered and tried to calm my mind. But the more I tried, the louder my thoughts grew. What if Angela talked to him first? What if she told him something about me? What if the secret had nothing to do with her and everything to do with him? That possibility hit unexpectedly hard. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor, letting old memories float back. I remembered being a kid and watching my dad through the crack of the living room door. He used to sit quietly at night, rubbing his temples as if the world weighed on him. Back then I thought he missed my mom. Now I wondered if he was carrying something else entirely, something he never dared to say out loud. The next morning, I distracted myself by going to work. Being around people helped a little, but every time my phone buzzed, even for random notifications, I felt my heart jump. I kept thinking one of them would message again. All day, I wondered what secret was big enough to make both of them reach out in the same 24 hours. By lunchtime, I opened the text from my dad again. My hand hovered over the call button, but before I could decide, someone else stepped into the story, someone I hadn't even considered. My cousin Marcus. He sent me a voice note, something he rarely does. Hey, I heard something's going on with your stepmom. Call me when you can. I froze. How did he know? We grew up close, but we drifted apart over the years. Still, his tone didn't sound casual. He sounded nervous, like whatever he knew wasn't small. I stepped outside the building, found a quiet corner, and finally called him. He answered on the first ring. You okay? He asked immediately. I'm not sure, I admitted. What did you hear? He let out a heavy sigh, the kind that makes you brace yourself. Look, I don't know much, but my mom said Angela's been asking about old family stuff. Like really old stuff. From before you were even born. That didn't make sense. Angela wasn't part of the family before I was born. She didn't even meet my dad until years after my mom passed away. Why would she care about that? I asked. I don't know, he said. But she's been calling people. Asking questions about your mom, about the year you were born, About things that happened before you were old enough to remember. My stomach dropped. Every question he listed felt like a piece of a puzzle I didn't even know existed. Marcus, I asked quietly, did she say what she was looking for? No, he replied. But my mom told me she sounded desperate, like she needed to confirm something. And she asked if your mom ever confided in her about anything important. A cold feeling spread through me. My mom had passed when I was young, but the thought of Angela digging through her past made something inside me twist. Why would she be asking about my birth year? I whispered. Marcus didn't speak for a moment, and when he finally did, his voice was lower. I don't know, but I think whatever she wants to tell you, it's not small. We talked a bit more, but neither of us had answers. When I hung up, the air felt heavy around me. Everything was pointing to something bigger than a family argument. Something older. Something buried for decades. That night, I finally texted my dad back. Are you okay? What's going on? He replied almost instantly. I'll explain when I see you. It's not something I can text. The fact that he echoed Angela's words nearly word for word sent another chill through me. Whatever this was, they both knew it. They both were afraid of saying it out loud. And the more they avoided it, the more I needed to know. But I still wasn't ready to face either of them. Not yet. So I went looking for my own answers. I drove to my aunt's house, my mom's sister. She greeted me with a soft smile, but there was worry behind her eyes, the same worry I'd heard in her voice earlier. She made tea and sat with me at the kitchen table, hands folded, waiting for me to speak first. Did you know Angela would call me? I asked. She didn't flinch. She just lowered her gaze. I had a feeling, she said. Why? I asked. What is she hiding? Aunt Rose hesitated, like she was trying to choose her words carefully. There were things, she began slowly, about your mother's last year, things I didn't fully understand at the time. My breath caught. What things? She shook her head. I can't tell you because I don't know the full truth. Your father and your mother, they had conversations I wasn't part of. There were documents your mother kept locked away. And after she passed, your father handled everything quietly. Too quietly. The hairs on my arm stood up. Why didn't you tell me this before? Because I didn't want you growing up thinking there was something wrong with your childhood, she said gently. You'd already lost enough. I swallowed hard. Something in her voice felt final, like she knew more than she was willing to reveal. Before I could ask another question, she reached into a drawer and pulled out a small envelope. It was old, the edges slightly worn. This, she said softly, is something your mother gave me before you were born. She told me to keep it safe. Said she'd explain when the time was right. My heartbeat pounded as she placed it in my hands. Why didn't you give this to me sooner? I whispered. Because she told me not to, she replied. And I trusted her. But now, with everything stirring again, maybe it's time. The envelope felt strangely heavy. But before I could open it, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Angela. It wasn't my dad. It wasn't Marcus. It was a number I didn't recognize. A simple message appeared on the screen. You deserve to know the truth. Don't trust everything they tell you. My breath caught. Because under the text, there was a name I hadn't seen since childhood. A name I didn't think belonged in this story at all. And suddenly, the conflict that had begun with one painful sentence from my stepmom was growing into something far bigger, far older, and far more dangerous than I ever could have imagined. The unknown message sat on my screen, pulsing like a warning. I stared at the sender's name, feeling a strange mix of recognition and disbelief. It was someone who used to babysit me when I was little, a family friend named Lila. She moved away when I was around 8 and no one ever talked about her after that. She just faded out of our lives the way some adults do when families shift and life moves on. Or at least that's what I always believed. But seeing her name now, in the middle of all this chaos, felt too deliberate to be a coincidence. I read the message again. You deserve to know the truth. Don't trust everything they tell you. My fingers tightened around the phone. They could have meant my dad and Angela, or someone else entirely. The room felt suddenly smaller, like the walls were inching closer. I slipped the envelope from my aunt into my jacket, thanked her, and left before she could ask too many questions. I needed space. I needed air. I needed time to think. I sat in my car, staring at the steering wheel while my mind spun. It felt like every person tied to my childhood was stepping back into my life at the same exact moment, each one carrying a piece of a truth I didn't even know I was missing. I finally texted Lila, my hands shaky. What do you know? I watched the 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Then her reply came. Not over text. Not safe. Not safe? A cold wave rolled through me. Safe from what? Or who? Before I could respond, another message came. Meet me tomorrow. Same park from back then. No. She didn't even need to specify which park. There was only one park I went to as a kid with her, a small one with a rusted swing set and a big oak tree. A place full of memories I hadn't touched in years. I sat there for a long moment, trying to swallow the uneasiness building inside me. First Angela, then my dad, then Marcus, then Aunt Rose, and now Lila? All circling the same mystery? Whatever this was, it didn't just concern my childhood. It was woven into the very foundation of my life. On the way home, I kept thinking about the envelope in my jacket. I wasn't sure if I wanted to open it yet. Some part of me felt like once I saw what was inside, there would be no turning back. Like the story of my life would split in two. The version I thought I knew and the version that had been hidden from me. That night, I placed the envelope on the table and stared at it the way someone stares at a locked door they're afraid to open. I wasn't ready, and that scared me even more. I barely slept again. My dad called twice, but I let it ring. I wasn't ready to hear his voice, not until I understood more. I kept thinking about the day Angela told me I wasn't really part of the family. I used to think it was just cruelty. But now the words felt like a hint. Like maybe she knew something back then, something she couldn't say directly. Around 6 in the morning, I finally forced myself up and drove to the park early. I needed time to breathe before meeting Lila. The place looked smaller than I remembered. The old swing still creaked in the wind. The wooden bench where she used to read her books while I played was still there, paint peeling. I sat on the bench and tried to calm the storm inside me. Every detail of the park felt like it was whispering something I had forgotten. I remembered being 3 or 4, running around the grass while my mom watched from the shade. I remembered her voice, her laughter, her warmth. I tried to replay everything she had ever said to me, wondering if she had left clues. I remembered the last days before she passed, how quiet she became, how often she held me tight without saying why. And suddenly, it hit me, like a soft memory tugging at the edge of my mind. One afternoon, long before Angela came into our lives, I remembered hearing my parents whispering in the kitchen. I couldn't understand much back then, but I remembered the sound of my dad saying something like, "We have to tell her eventually." I remembered my mom crying. And I remembered a box, one my mom locked away in her closet and told me never to touch. Was that envelope connected to the box? Had Angela tried to find it? Was that why she was digging into my mom's past? I was still lost in thought when I heard footsteps behind me. I turned to see Lila approaching, older but still recognizable. Her hair was shorter, her face more lined, but her eyes held the same softness I remembered. She sat down beside me without saying anything for a moment. She just looked at me like she was searching for the right words. "You look just like her," she said quietly. I swallowed hard. That was something people rarely told me anymore. "Why did you message me?" I asked. "Because," she said slowly, "I've been waiting for this to come out for years. And now that Angela is reaching out, I knew it was only a matter of time before everything surfaced." "What is everything?" I asked, my voice breaking despite trying to stay calm. She hesitated, glancing around the park as if checking for strangers. "There were things happening in your house before your mother passed," she said. "Things no one wanted to talk about. I knew pieces, not the whole story. But Angela knows a lot more than she ever admitted." My chest tightened. "What does Angela know?" "That's not for me to reveal," she said softly. "But I'll tell you this, your mother trusted very few people. And she kept secrets even from those she trusted." She leaned closer. "And one of those secrets had to do with you." My breath caught. "Me?" "Yes," she said gently. "And your father has been protecting that secret for years." I felt dizzy. The ground didn't feel steady anymore. "Lila," I whispered, "just tell me what this is about." She shook her head. "I can't. Not because I don't want to, but because I don't know the full truth. I only know fragments. And the person who knows everything is your father. Whatever he wants to tell you, you need to hear it." Tension crawled up my spine. "So I should meet him?" I asked. "Yes," she said firmly. "And you should hear Angela too. Because what she's hiding might finally make sense when you put it together with what your dad has kept buried." I sat back, feeling like the world was tilting. "Before you go," she added quietly, "remember this, your mother did what she did out of love. She made choices she thought were protecting you. Don't blame her when the truth comes out." My pulse thudded louder in my ears. "What choices?" I asked. She looked at me with eyes full of sympathy, regret, and something else, fear. "That," she said softly, "is what you're about to find out." Before I could ask anything else, she stood up. One last thing came from her, almost like a warning. Be prepared. Whatever your father tells you, it will change everything. She walked away, leaving me with the envelope in my pocket, a phone full of unanswered messages, and a truth edging closer with every passing second. And as the wind moved through the old oak tree, I felt it. Something big was coming. Something heavy. Something I wasn't sure I was ready for. But it was already too late to turn back. The truth was waiting. And I was standing right at the edge of it. The silence in the room thickened after Jordan's warning, but something in his eyes made the tension shift in a way none of them expected. Maya felt it first, a strange mix of fear and curiosity, like something bigger was lurking just beyond the truth she thought she finally uncovered. She tried to breathe evenly, but her chest tightened as she watched Jordan pace slowly, his hand running over his face as if he was wrestling with more than he had said. Then he stopped, looked at her, and his voice lowered. There's something else you don't know. Those words hit Maya harder than anything before. She had already spent days piecing together clues, facing betrayal, and confronting secrets she never imagined existed. She didn't think there could be something worse. But Jordan wasn't bluffing. She could see it written in the way his jaw tightened, the way his eyes darted toward the window as if expecting someone to show up. Maya stepped closer, her voice shaking. Jordan, what else happened? He hesitated, too long. And that hesitation alone made Maya's heart throb in her ears. The truth wasn't just heavy, it was dangerous. Jordan swallowed hard and said, I wasn't alone that night. Someone else was watching. Someone who shouldn't have been there. Maya's breath caught. For a second the room felt colder. She could hear her own heartbeat as she whispered, Who? Jordan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pulled a small folded paper from his pocket. Maya recognized it instantly, the same note she found earlier but never fully understood. Except now there were new markings on it, words that hadn't been there before. Words that looked rushed, almost panicked. She read them and felt a chill run down her spine. You're not safe. They know everything. Maya looked up, startled. Jordan, who wrote this? He took a step back. I don't know. But they left it on my car. And I think they've been following me. The room felt like it was shrinking. The conflict she thought she was navigating suddenly expanded into something bigger, deeper, and far more complicated. It wasn't just about who betrayed her anymore. It wasn't just about lies and hidden motives. It was something else, something connected, something watching. Jordan's voice grew urgent. Maya, this goes further than you think. The moment you started digging, someone else started paying attention. They don't want the truth out. Maya's pulse raced. She thought she was close to the climax of her journey, but now it felt like she had opened a door she didn't know existed. Every keyword she had followed, every clue she pieced together, suddenly connected to a wider web of secrets. Before she could respond, a soft tap echoed from outside. Not loud. Not threatening. Just enough to make them freeze. Jordan motioned for silence. Maya held her breath, feeling every sound amplify, the clock ticking, her heartbeat, the distant hum of the city. The tap came again, slightly firmer this time, like a warning. Jordan whispered, They found us. Maya felt her knees weaken. Everything was accelerating too fast. All her assumptions, all her theories about who hurt her and why, they suddenly felt incomplete. And now, with someone tapping outside, the stakes rose in a way she couldn't ignore. Stay behind me, Jordan whispered. Maya wanted to protest, but the fear spreading through her body anchored her in place. The tap came a third time, slow and deliberate. Jordan moved toward the door, each step heavy with tension. Maya's mind raced. Who was out there? How much did they know? And why did they go through so much trouble to keep her from uncovering the truth? As Jordan reached for the handle, Maya realized that this wasn't just a conflict anymore, it was a countdown. Something big was coming, something that would change everything she thought she understood. And in that moment, she knew one thing for certain. This wasn't the last twist. It was only the beginning of a much darker turn. Jordan's hand hovered over the door handle, and Maya felt her breath tighten again, unsure of what waited on the other side. The tapping had stopped, but the silence left behind felt louder than anything. Jordan glanced back at her, giving a small nod as if telling her to be ready for anything. She wasn't ready, not even close, but she nodded anyway. He pulled the door open. At first, Maya saw nothing but the dim hallway. No shadowy figure. No stranger waiting to attack. Just quiet. But then she noticed a small envelope sitting on the floor, placed so neatly it felt intentional. Jordan bent down, grabbed it, and locked the door again before opening it. His hands trembled slightly, something Maya had rarely seen from him. Inside was a single photo. Maya felt her stomach drop as she stepped closer. The photo showed her, standing near the old cafe she visited 2 days ago, looking over her shoulder at nothing in particular. But someone had circled the area behind her, where a blurry figure stood at a distance. The same figure she thought was just a passerby. Jordan's voice shook. This is the same person who followed me. Maya had been so focused on the betrayal she discovered earlier that she never imagined someone else was tracking her too. She looked closer at the photo, her pulse pounding. But why me? Why now? Jordan took a deep breath, as if finally ready to reveal the last piece of the truth he'd been holding back. Because the person who started all this isn't who you think. Maya felt her chest tighten again. Then who? Jordan hesitated, but he didn't look away. It's someone close. Someone who knows both of us. Before Maya could respond, a loud chime broke the tension, her phone buzzing on the table. She rushed to pick it up, and when she saw the caller ID, her entire body froze. It was Lena, her best friend. The one who comforted her when everything first began. The one who always showed up when Maya needed her. And the one Maya trusted more than anyone. Jordan watched her reaction and whispered, "Answer it." Maya swallowed hard and put the phone to her ear. Lena? But the voice that came through wasn't warm or friendly. It was calm, too calm. Maya, Lena said softly. You really should have stopped digging. Maya's knees nearly buckled. She put the phone on speaker, her eyes locked with Jordan's. Lena, what's going on? Why did you? You weren't supposed to find out anything, Lena said. Not about the plan. Not about the money. And definitely not about the night you think was an accident. Maya felt her heart shatter. It wasn't just betrayal anymore, it was a complete twist she never saw coming. Jordan stepped closer to her. Lena, why are you doing this? Lena gave a small laugh, cold and distant. Because Maya wasn't the only one who got hurt. You two act like you're the only ones with secrets, but I've been cleaning up your messes for years. And when I realized Maya was getting too close, I had to step in. Maya's voice cracked. You were following us? You left the notes? Why? Because the truth would ruin everything, Lena said. And I can't let that happen. Jordan clenched his fists, his voice low and steady. It's too late. We know. There was a long, heavy pause on the line. Then Lena said something that made both of them go still. Then meet me. If you want answers, come alone. Before Maya could ask where, the line clicked dead. Jordan immediately shook his head. It's a trap. She's scared and unpredictable. But Maya stepped back, staring at the photo in her hand, at the circled figure behind her. Everything Lena said replayed in her mind, and even though she was terrified, she knew she couldn't walk away now. I have to go, she whispered. This is the only way to end it. Jordan grabbed her shoulders gently. Then I'm coming with you. She didn't argue. She couldn't. They drove to the location Lena sent in a final text. An open, quiet parking lot near the old stadium. A place that once held cheering crowds but now sat empty under flickering lights. Maya stepped out of the car slowly, her nerves buzzing. Jordan stayed close beside her. Lena appeared from behind one of the pillars, her face unreadable, her body tense. Maya searched her eyes. Why did you do this? We trusted you. For the first time, Lena's expression softened, almost pained. I didn't want to hurt you. I just wanted control before everything fell apart. Jordan stepped forward. Then stop this. It's over. Lena closed her eyes for a moment as if weighing her choices. When she opened them, Maya expected anger, but instead she saw defeat. You're right, Lena said quietly. It ends now. But before Maya could breathe in relief, Lena reached into her pocket and tossed something toward her feet. A second photo. This time Maya saw Jordan in it. Standing with Lena. Talking. Meeting. In secret. Maya looked up sharply, her breath catching as the final twist slammed into her. Jordan froze, his face paling. Lena's voice broke the silence. He didn't tell you everything either. Maya looked at Jordan, her heart pounding harder than ever. And suddenly she wasn't sure who she could trust anymore. Maya stood frozen, her mind spinning as she stared at the photo lying at her feet. The faint glow from the old stadium lights flickered over it, almost mocking her confusion. Jordan and Lena together. Not arguing. Not fighting. Just there. Together in a way Maya didn't understand. She felt the ground shift under her, the last bit of certainty she had slipping away. Jordan took a slow step toward her, but she held up her hand. She needed a breath. She needed space. She needed the truth. Maya, he said quietly, I can explain. She swallowed hard, bending down to pick up the photo with trembling fingers. Her voice came out steadier than she expected. Then explain. Right now. Lena crossed her arms, watching both of them closely. For once, she didn't look smug or defensive. She looked tired, like she'd been carrying far more than she could handle. Jordan let out a long breath. Yes, we met. But not for the reasons she wants you to think. He glanced at Lena, who didn't move or react. She contacted me first. Months ago. Said she had information about your stepmom and your past. She claimed she wanted to help you. I didn't trust her, but I wanted answers for you. Maya blinked, her heartbeat slowing just a little. Why didn't you tell me? Because she made me swear not to, he said. She said telling you would make everything fall apart before she could get to the truth. Lena gave a short, humorless laugh. I told you that because you would have panicked, Maya. You were already dealing with so much. I thought I could control the situation. Maya clenched her jaw. You were stalking me. I was watching you, Lena corrected gently. Yes, in a way that looks bad now. But I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to protect you from something I wasn't fully sure about. Jordan shook his head. You still crossed every line. Lena didn't deny it. She lowered her gaze, her voice softening. I was scared. When I learned the truth about your stepmom, I thought someone else might be after you too. So I followed you. I made sure you were never alone when things got strange. Maya felt an ache deep in her chest, the kind that comes when anger mixes with understanding. And the message you left? The notes? The threats? Lena sighed. Those weren't threats. They were warnings. I needed you to slow down before you got hurt. Jordan stepped closer to Maya, speaking quietly. She did tell me she thought someone else was watching. Someone connected to your stepmom's past decisions. It wasn't just paranoia. Maya rubbed her forehead, feeling the last pieces of the puzzle shifting into place. But why not just talk to me? Why build this strange plan around fear and secrets? Lena hesitated. Because I didn't know who to trust. I didn't know if your stepmom was still connected to people who might come after you. And I didn't know if telling you everything would make you leave town, or walk into something dangerous. Maya stared at her friend for a long moment. For years, Lena had been her comfort, her backup, the person who always showed up when she needed someone. And now, after everything, Maya could finally see the desperation behind her choices. They were messy, misguided, even wrong. But they came from a place of fear, not malice. What was the truth? Maya finally asked. What did you find out about my stepmom? Lena exhaled shakily. It's not as dramatic as you imagined. She didn't hurt you. She didn't plan anything against you. But she did lie to your dad about something important. She pushed him to send you away because she wanted control of the family finances. She thought you'd eventually take his side against her. That's why she said those awful things to you when you were a teenager. It wasn't personal. It was fear. Immature fear. Maya felt her chest tighten again, but this time with sadness, not confusion. So many years had passed. So many nights she'd replayed that painful memory, her stepmom telling her she didn't belong. All this time Maya thought it was pure hate. But it wasn't hate. It was control. It was insecurity. It was someone making a cruel choice out of selfishness. Does she know I know? Maya asked quietly. Lena shook her head. No. She knows you're upset. She knows you pulled away. But she doesn't know you've put the pieces together. Jordan stepped beside Maya and gently took her hand. You have the truth now. But what you do with it is up to you. The cold wind blew across the empty parking lot, carrying away the tension little by little. Maya looked from Jordan to Lena, feeling the shift inside herself. She wasn't the frightened girl who had once accepted being pushed aside. She wasn't the confused woman caught between shadows and unanswered questions. She was someone who had faced the truth, even the messy, painful parts, and survived. Lena looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm sorry, Maya. I should have trusted you more. I should have told you everything when I had the chance. Maya hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward and placed a hand on her friend's arm. You should have. But you were trying to protect me in your own way. I don't hate you for that. I just need time. Lena nodded slowly, tears glistening in her eyes. I can live with that. Jordan looked at both of them, relief washing over his face. So what now? Maya took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. Now I stop running. Now I talk to my stepmom and finally end this chapter. They left the stadium together, the silence in the car no longer heavy with fear but with clarity. When Maya finally called her stepmom later that night, the conversation wasn't explosive. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply honest. Her stepmom cried when she heard Maya repeat the words she'd said 20 years earlier. She admitted her insecurity, her fear, her regret. She apologized, not perfectly, not poetically, but with sincerity Maya never expected. For the first time in her life, Maya felt a weight lift. She wasn't fully healed. That would take time. But she finally had closure. Jordan stayed by her side through everything, and though trust needed rebuilding, they were willing to do the work. Lena took a step back, giving Maya space, but their friendship didn't end. It simply reshaped into something healthier, built on honesty instead of secrets. As Maya stood by her window late that night, looking out at the quiet streets, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The truth wasn't perfect. It wasn't clean or simple. But it freed her. It helped her understand the people who shaped her past, even the ones who hurt her. She realized something important. Sometimes the people who hurt you aren't villains. They're just flawed humans making mistakes they don't know how to fix. And sometimes closure doesn't come from answers, but from choosing to stop carrying the weight of the pain. In the end, Maya learned that family isn't defined by the people who push you away. It's defined by the people who stay, who try, who choose love even when it's messy and complicated. And with that understanding, she finally stepped forward into the future without fear.